Hello everyone, welcome to this course of International Economics MOOCs course, and today we are going for module 8 unit 4. What we are having in this module, the optimum tariffs with retaliation and the optimum tariff formula. So before this module, this unit, we have discussed about what is tariff and how tariff can be analyzed under general equilibrium analysis, how tariff affect the small nation, the large nations. So we have all discussed about those things, but here we have to learn about the optimum tariff, how optimum tariff is determined, and if someone have imposed tariff, so whether that country will retaliate or not. Okay, and what are the optimum tariff formula, that is how optimum tariff can be derived. Okay, the determination of optimum tariff through a formula. So let us have a backwards, what is tariff. So as we know that tariff, it is a direct tax applied by government on goods and services imported from or exported to a different country. So tariff is imposed specially to protecting the domestic industries and generating revenues. The company importing the goods usually pay the tariff. Now this is the normal definition of tariff. Now if we come to the optimum tariff, so how we can define optimum tariff? Optimum tariff is one which maximizes imposing countries' gains or welfare from trade. It implies that the rate of tariff which intersect the opposite countries' offer curve at a point which is tangent to the imposing country's highest community indifference curve. So when we are talking about optimum tariff, so optimum tariff will be where there is maximum gain or maximum welfare from a country. But we can also explain the optimum tariff, the concept of optimum tariff, through the help of offer curve. So when we are discussing the topic optimum tariff, so with the help of offer curve, so it is at the point which is tangent to the imposing country's highest community indifference curve. So offer curve and indifference curve, through both of these we can also determine optimum tariff. So as we discuss optimum tariff, it is the level of tariff which does not further increase the benefit to the given country and the level of economic welfare becomes maximum. So when we reach the point optimum tariff, so we have to ensure, or the country have to ensure, that after this point, after reaching the optimum tariff point, there will be no increase in the benefits to the country. Or when our country attain optimum tariff, that means we can say that the economic welfare, maximum economic welfare have been attained. According to the economist Bosch-Darson, he have described optimum tariff in this way, that the tariff that maximizes a country's welfare is called the optimum tariff. So when we reach the optimum tariff, what would be the cases? If the gains from tariff is more than the cost. Okay, so from tariff, after imposition of tariff, if a country is gaining more, that whatever they are paying, gain from tariff is more than the cost, so it will lead to welfare of the tariff imposing country, and terms of trade will also increase, and therefore it is worthwhile for it to raise the tariff. But if the cost is more than the gain from tariff, so what will be the result? The result will be welfare of the tariff imposing country reduces and terms of trade worsens. So it is not worthwhile for it to raise the tariff. In technical jargon, however, optimum tariff implies the rate of tariff which intersects the opposite country's offer curve at a point which is tangent to the imposing country's highest community indifference curve. So here we can say that the concept of optimum tariff can be explained by taking the offer curve and the indifference curve of the country. So here we are going to determine the optimum tariff, level of optimum tariff, with the help of offer curve and indifference curve. The point of optimum tariff is determined where the trade indifference curve of the tariff imposing home country becomes tangent to the offer curve of the foreign country. This can be shown through the following diagram. So in this diagram, what we see, that originally OA is the offer curve of home country A and OB is the offer curve of foreign country B. If we see the point T1, T2 and T3, these are the indifference curve of the these are the trade indifference curves of the country A. Now here we will decide that before imposition of tariff and after imposition of tariff, what was the result. Before the imposition of tariff, the exchange takes place at point P. We can see in the diagram that where both the offer curve intersect A and B at point P. So before imposition of tariff, the exchange takes place at this particular point P. This point lie on the trade indifference curve T1. But after tariff is imposed, the offer curve of country A shift to OA1. So we can see that OA is shifted to left hand side, and exchange takes place at point P1. This point occurs at the higher trade indifference curve T2. So T2 is a higher indifference curve than T1. Continuing with the optimum tariff determination, thus tariff results in an improvement in terms of trade on the one hand and increases the level of welfare on the other. If there is a further increase in tariff, country A's offer curve shifts to OA2, and given the offer curve OB of country B, the exchange takes place at P2. This point occurs at the higher trade indifference curve T3. So after A2, if again it increases, tariff increases, then it will move to OA2, and similarly for B, it will be at point P2, and the trade indifference curve will be T3. Continuing again with the determination of optimum tariff, P2 is the point of tangency between the trade indifference curve T3 and foreign country B's offer curve is OB. Compared with the point P1, there is a further improvement in the terms of trade and increase also in the level of welfare. So in case country A raises the tariff still further, so what will be the result? Its offer curve will shift to the left to OA3. Given the offer curve of country B as OB, exchange takes place now at P3. This point shows that terms of trade improve further, but this point lies on a lower trade indifference curve, that is T2. Although the terms of trade in this situation improve, yet there is worsening in respect of the level of welfare. In such a situation, it is appropriate for the home country to reduce tariff and move back to point P2, where welfare is maximum. So what we have seen that although there are different points P, P1, P3, but the optimum tariff will be reached at point P2 only. Hence, this P2 is the point of optimum tariff which corresponds with the maximization of welfare. So in other point less than P2, no points can give you the maximum welfare. It may give you welfare, but P2 will give you the maximum amount of welfare. So the optimum tariff will be reached at particular point P2 only. Now here we have another topic, optimum tariff with retaliation. Suppose a country imposes a tariff. So what will be the consequences? So when a country imposes tariff, whether another country will also retaliate. Retaliate means whether they will also react or how they will react. So recently, jokingly, it has been said that Donald Trump, the president of US, it is known as Trump tariff. So Donald Trump, after assuming his second term as US president, he have retaliated the tariffs, especially with the country like China, and the goods are steel and aluminum. Okay, so how it is known as Trump tariffs, jokingly, and that means US President Donald Trump is of the view that okay, if you are imposing tariff on our importing commodity, then we too are also charging you the same amount of tariff. So this is presently this is a topic of discussion for every nation, what Trump has going to do. So how country retaliate? So let us come to that point. So far, what we have studied is that the home country continues to raise tariff and improve its terms of trade. It has been implicitly assumed that foreign country does not retaliate. So we was of the view that when a home country continues to raise tariff, and by continuing to raise tariff, they increase their TOT, terms of trade, and on that tariff, the other country, the tariff imposing country, they do not retaliate, they do not react, they usually accept those tariff. But in actual reality, the possibility of retaliation cannot be ruled out. So recently what we have seen that when the US commodities that they import that has been surged with tariff, now the US government is retaliating with the same. So the earlier view that we are having, we are talking that home country continues to raise tariff without assuming foreign countries does not, without assuming that the foreign country does not retaliate. It is not true so far. The tariff action, particularly retaliatory tariff, may or may not permit the improvement in terms of trade. But one thing is definite, that it will reduce sharply the volume of trade and lower the level of welfare. In view of this, it is better for both the trading countries to avoid deleterious beggar my neighbor tariff policies. So what usually say, if one thing we can definitely say, if the another country retaliates by imposing the tariff, so definitely it will have an impact upon the trade. And what will happen, what will be the impact upon the trade? The impact will be that the volume of trade, the amount of trade, it will become lower. And when the volume of trade become lower, the level of welfare will also it will become lower. So it is suggested that the both countries, tariff imposing country and tariff accepting country, they have should not go for this sort of policies like beggar my neighbor tariff policies. Rather, they should have some mutual understanding, and with the help of mutual understanding, they should fix the rate of tariff, or they should impose the tariff. The impact of imposition of tariff by two trading countries upon the terms of trade and the level of welfare can be shown through following figure. So here we are discussing that if a country imposes tariff and if the another country retaliates by imposing another tariff, so what will be the consequences on the TOT? How we can show with the help of following diagram. So optimum tariff with retaliation. So in this figure, what we can see that OA and OB are the free trade offer curves of countries A and B respectively. So we are having two countries, say A and B, and for country A we are having offer curve OA, and for country B we are having offer curve OB. P is the point of exchange, and the terms of trade for the home country A are measured by the slope of the line OP. So initially, before tariff was imposed, so both the country intersect at point A, and this point, this particular point A, or the slope of the line at point A, it determines the terms of trade. This point means the point P lies on the trade indifference curve T1 and T1 of countries A and B respectively. So here what we see that the point P lies on the trade indifference curve of T1. T1 is for the country A, and T1 dash is for the country B. So it lies on the indifference curve T1 and T1 dash. So point P also indicates the respective welfare level in these countries in the pre-tariff situation. So before tariff was imposed, so this point P represents the welfare, the level of welfare in both these countries, country A and country B. Now suppose tariff has been imposed. So what would be the result? Result will be if country A imposes tariff so that its offer curve shift to OA1, while country B does not enforce any retaliatory tariff, P1 is the point of optimum tariff for A. So in the first case, when country A imposes tariff, okay, so what will happen? The offer curve will shift from OA to OA1, and the new equilibrium point will become P1 from P to P1. At this point of exchange, the higher trade indifference curve T2 of country A is tangent to the offer curve OB of country B. There is an improvement in terms of trade as well as increase in welfare of the tariff imposing home country. So when we have seen this, that when it shifted from when country A imposes tariff, its offer curve shifted from OA to OA1, and consequently there is an increase in TOT and the welfare of the tariff imposing country also. If country B had imposed tariff first without provoking country A to retaliate, now in this diagram what we see, that now the country B retaliate by imposing tariff. So here we have written, if country B had imposed tariff first without provoking country A to retaliation, the point of exchange would have shifted from P to P2. This would have been the point of optimum tariff for B, because tangency between its higher trade indifference curve T2 and the offer curve of country A, that is OA. The point P2 shows an improvement in terms of trade and increase in the level of welfare or for country B. Here now country B retaliate. Now when country B retaliate, what we have seen? We have seen the point P2 would be the next point where the two offer curve is intersecting country A and country B, and this point P2 will shows an improvement in the terms of trade and increase in welfare for country B. So in earlier cases, country B does not retaliate and the welfare was only for country A and terms of trade improved for country A only. But here what we have seen that the country B also getting improvement in their TOT and the level of welfare. So optimum tariff with retaliation, we are continuing. So in case the tariff action of A is followed by retaliatory tariff action of country B, their respective offer curves OA1 and OB1 intersect each other at point 3. Now interestingly, when country A imposes tariff and to retaliate the country B also imposes tariff, so they will intersect at a new point, that is point P3. So what's happened at this point P3? The terms of trade for both the countries are exactly the same as the pre-tariff position P. The point P3 is the optimum tariff situation because the trade indifference curve T3 and T-3 are tangent to the offer curve of each other at this point. So in this case, if the country B also retaliate, so what would be the result? We found a result that the TOT will become exactly the same before tariff was imposed. That means P3 is almost similar to point P. So at this point P3, the optimum tariff situation become, or it situation because of trade indifference curve T3 of country A and T-3 of country B, and they are tangent to the offer curve of each of this point. So however, the point P3 lies on the lower trade indifference curve of two countries compared with the tariff situation P1 and P2. So if we see in the diagram that P1 and P2, the point of intersection of the offer curve, they are lying on the higher indifference curve. And as we know that higher indifference curve T1, T2, higher indifference curve give higher level of satisfaction. But this point P3, it lie on a lower indifference curve. So in the absence of retaliation, so tariff has left their terms of trade unchanged but has worsened the level of welfare in both the countries. So what will be the result? So when your P3 is lying on a lower indifference curve, the result will be is that it will worsen, or it will reduce the welfare of both the countries. The above analysis shows that both the countries in the ultimate analysis are likely to lose due to tariff. So the conclusion is that, so if both the country imposes tariff, if country A imposes tariff and if country B on retaliation they also impose tariff, then both the countries will lose at a particular point of time. So economist Johnson has observed, and however he did not support such a general conclusion. Samuel Johnson was of another view, and according to Johnson, what he said, in Johnson's words, whatever the final equilibrium point, one country must lose another tariff as compared with free trade, since gains depends on obtaining an improvement in the terms of trade sufficient to overweight the loss of trade volume. So according to Johnson, he was of the view that if both the countries reach the equilibrium point, so in your diagram, say the final equilibrium point was 0.3. So in this case, what will happen? In this case, we will have that one country must lose under tariff. So it may be country A or it may be country B as compared with free trade, since gain depends on obtaining an improvement in TOT. This is impossible for both countries simultaneously. So both the countries cannot happen all these things. And both countries may lose, but it is not necessarily true that both will lose. So both the countries may lose and both the countries may not also lose. So this was the observation of economist Johnson. Next, we have the optimum tariff formula. So we have discussed about optimum tariff. So optimum tariff will be attained if the welfare is maximum, if the welfare is highest. Then what will be the consequences if the country retaliate? If country A imposes tariff and to retaliate country B also imposes tariff, what is the result? We have find. Now what are the particular formula that can be used for determination of optimum tariff? The economist and financial administrator have remained concerned with determining the rate of tariff that can ensure the improvement in terms of trade consistent with the maximization of welfare. So when we are talking about this economist, the name of economists like Robert Heller, Samuel and Kindleberger, the name of these three economists are coming into account, for which they have developed a formula. They have preferred, these economists, they have preferred to all such a rate of tariff as the optimum rate of tariff. The economists, including Robert Heller, Samuel and Kindleberger, have attempted to work out a precise formula for specifying the optimum rate of tariff. So after discussing long away, they have find a formula that will determine the optimum level of tariff for a country. So as suggested by Kindleberger, he stated the formula for optimum tariff in the following form. TO represents your the optimum rate of tariff is equal to 1 by E minus 1. So here T naught, in this formula T naught denote the optimum rate of tariff, and here E stands for the elasticity of the offer curve. So as we know that the optimum tariff is determined by taking into account the offer curve and the indifference curve. So here we are taking the elasticity of the offer curve of the foreign countries at a specific point of time. So the coefficient E or the elasticity of offer curve can be measured as below. So when we are determining the optimum rate of tariff with the formula 1 by E minus 1, E stands for your elasticity of offer curve, and elasticity of offer curve can be derived with the following formula, that is minus percentage change in import, that is percentage change in import is negative, divided by percentage change in export minus percentage change in import as a whole minus 1. So with this formula we can determine the optimum level of tariff. So this tariff, optimum level of tariff, with the formula, with this particular formula, the optimum level of tariff can be determined with the help of again this diagram. OA is the offer curve of tariff imposing home country A, and OB is the offer curve of the foreign country B. Now look at this diagram. P is the original point of exchange and P1 is the point of exchange subsequent to the imposition of tariff. It is assumed that P1 is the point of optimum tariff. So here in the diagram what we see, the slope of the offer curve at point P1 is measured by tangent drawn to OB at P1. It meets the horizontal scale produced in the backward direction at Q. The optimum tariff at P1 would be OQ divided by OQ1. As OQ is also equal to RP, therefore the optimum tariff can be expressed as OQ1 divided by RP1. So here the portion OQ, the horizontal line equal to cloth, it is also equal to RP1. Since the rate of changes, a triangle SQ1 and O and SP1R are similar. Hence, the area OQ1 divided by RP1 equal OS divided by SR. So, by taking that above formula, the elasticity of the offer curves, thus we can find from this diagram the terms of trade of the optimum tariff is equal to OQ1 by OQ, OQ1 equal to divided by OQ is equal to RP1. Again, RP1 is equal to SR, OQ1 is equal to OS. So we have divided that way. SR, we can divide SR as OR minus OS and OS divided by the entire thing. So if we calculate this portion, then we will get that since OR divided by OS is the elasticity. Look at the diagram. OR divided by OS is equal to the elasticity. Therefore, the optimum tariff at P1 at this particular point can be expressed as the terms of trade TO equal to 1 by E minus 1. So here E will stands for OR divided by OS. So find out some relationship between the offer curve and the terms of trade. So here let us have some elasticity of the offer curve starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 to infinity. So what would be the result if the elasticity of the offer curve is 1? So your terms of trade will be infinity. So if the elasticity of the offer curve is 2, so the terms of trade will be equal to 100 by implying that in the previous formula. If the elasticity will be 3, then the terms of trade will be 50%. So as your elasticity of the offer course goes on increasing, what would be the rate? The optimum tariff rate will goes on decreasing from infinity to 100%, 50%, so on, so on. And when your elasticity of offer curve became infinite, then your optimum tariff rate becomes 0. So here we can show the relationship. Higher elasticity, lower the rate of optimum tariff, and less the elasticity, higher is the rate of optimum tariff. So from the table, it follows that optimum tariff rate that can maximize welfare goes on diminishing as the coefficient E is the elasticity of the offer curve, increases and vice versa. It implies that there is an inverse relationship between elasticity of offer curve of country B and the optimum tariff rate of country A. So as we talked, that inverse relationship, more of the elasticity of the offer curve than less of the optimum tariff rate. So who are giving the elasticity of the offer curve? That is country B. And who are putting the optimum tariff rate? It is country A. So if more elasticity of the offer curve by country B, then country A will have to have smaller rate of optimum tariff. In the extreme situation, when the elasticity of the offer curve of foreign country is infinite, the tariff imposing country, that is home country, will fail to bring about an improvement in terms of trade. This can be shown in the diagram. In the figure, OA is originally the offer curve, as we know, of country A, and OB is the perfectly elastic. E is the offer curve, elasticity of the offer curve is perfectly elastic of country B. The exchange takes place at point P, and country A imports PQ quantity of steel in exchange of the export of OQ quantity of cloth. Now the slope of the line OP1 as shown in the diagram, OP1 is equal to tan alpha. Since the terms of trade at point P and P1, consider the 2 points, the initial point of offer curve A and B at point P, the next point is P1, are both measured by constant T alpha, the home country cannot improve the terms of trade through tariff. There is only reduction in the volume of trade and consequent decline in the level of welfare. So what we have seen here, if maximum level is attained above the optimum tariff, now the home country cannot improve the TOT through tariff. So in this case, what will happen? The volume of trade will be declining, and when the volume of trade is declining, the welfare of that country will also decline. So finally, the takeout, as long as the offer curve of the foreign country is more than the unit elastic, it is desirable for the home country to lower tariffs, suffer adverse terms of trade. So far the offer curve of the foreign country is more than elastic. So it is desirable. It is desirable for the home country, that is our country A, to lower tariff. Country A have to lower the tariff, and for that they may have also suffered adverse TOT. But at the same time, it may achieve a higher level of welfare. But at the same time, the country A may also achieve the same level of welfare. So taking this, we may conclude that optimum tariff will be achieved at a particular point, and that will be determined by the elasticity of the offer curve and the rate of offer curve. With taking this, thank you.